In part 2 with our conversation with Mitch Webb, we dig even deeper into what it means to live in alignment with your body and your values. If you've ever wondered how to find balance between showing up for your family and caring for yourself, this episode is filled with real, impactful, practical guidance on how you can start living more fully today. Welcome to Fulfillment Therapy. I'm Kendra Nielsen, wife, mom, and licensed therapist. Do you ever feel like you're doing everything right, but you're still exhausted and empty? Did you think life, marriage, and parenting would be simpler and more rewarding? Sometimes you just want to crawl back into bed and lose yourself in screen time and chocolate, rather than face that personal or family stress. You are not alone. This podcast helps you break free of the rat race and build a richer, more meaningful life, flourishing incrementally and realistically, improving your mental health and wellness, and living with deeper purpose beyond the mundane, no matter where you are in life's journey. I just want to reinforce some of those things that you said. Honor my capacity and give yourself permission to take breaks. That's hard for most of us to do. And especially, you talked about things being sexy. I think that's a good word for it. Our culture is very much hyper-focused on these things. And it's so hard to push against that culture in so many ways. I don't know that I like my culture, or whether it's your national culture, your family culture, whatever it is. Often the trending thing is not usually what is healthy and good for us. How do you personally fight back against that? How do you combat that culture that tells you all of these things? What do you do?
It's ultimately an individual decision, and with enough evidence, you're going to make the right decision for you. You can follow the crowd. How does that feel? How do you feel the next day? Is your intention to connect, or is it to disconnect? I know that when I disconnect, I'm left feeling anxious and lonely and empty and unfulfilled, and I feel like crap. When I'm connected and present, open and vulnerable, feels really good. It's just evidence, practice, seeing what works and trusting your body, trust the data. It should feel like crap after it. That's a good sign. If you feel good and it's fulfilling me, great. Let's do more of that. Ultimately, you can be in the matrix or out. You can be a hybrid. The future is community and more in-person support. The matrix feels robotic, fake, performative, and it takes a while to recognize that these things don't resonate, they don't feel authentic anymore. The more that we can observe, give ourselves permission to be authentic and show up in the way that we want, that feels good, the more we do that, the more evidence we get that this feels good and that the mainstream is going this way and that feels gross. That's a great sign. That's a somatic experience. I feel yuck in my body. I feel tight. My chest hurts. And I want to move towards this or away from it. That's neuroception, right? It's really telling us what feels safe and what doesn't. If I'm like, oh, this feels gross, pay attention to that. Your body does not lie. Now, you can lie with your face and your thoughts and your head, but the body, if I'm in this posture and I'm collapsed, one way to start with that is, does this decision or choice or environment, does it feel like a hell yes? Does it feel like a no? That I'd say that's a no.
Yeah. I'll give you a little heads up so you have time to think about it as I'm speaking, but I'm curious what has felt gross and what you've done to move back from that and shift, course correct in your own way. I'll ask you that in a second, but I just love your analogies, like the one with the dam and kind of putting your hands up or just white knuckling it a lot of times. But then that's just also the matrix one. Are you in or out of the matrix? Does it feel fake, robotic, performative? And I think that's a great way to visualize it. Like, what do we want? I have a French foreign exchange student that said, are you a sheep? Do you just follow people? Are you just going to follow everyone else, even when it's to you or your family's detriment? Like, I've been having a lot of conversations about that with my kids about tech. They're like, but everyone else does this. Why do we have to have these boundaries? I'm like, because we know what's good for us. And we try to get collaboration, have more conversations so it's not this pure control thing. But it's so hard to do that, especially when your kids are saying, no, but I want this shiny thing over there. And I want all of these shiny things, none of which are very good for us. But
Mhm.
anyway, going back to my question for you, what do you do in your family culture to push back against those things that are shiny, but not necessarily great for us?
Yeah, I mean, feel like I've got to be productive to be successful. That's a big one. That a lot of time will get in the way when we're trying to rest. If I'm telling myself I can't do that, I need to earn it. I need to be productive before. That's just going to slow down productivity and increase stress and lack of sleep. And that's not a fun one to deal with. Another one is like walking on eggshells, keeping the peace, avoiding difficult conversations, or not being held accountable for something I commit to. That was a big one for me this year. And there was a lot of people that I surrounded myself with, keeping them happy, only sharing the parts of me that felt like they belonged in the conversation. And I didn't even know that I had parts of me that didn't belong until I could see that. It was like an afterthought. I would be in a relationship with friends and we'd be sharing opinions. And the next day I would be really dysregulated and stressed out and not understanding. And ultimately it came down to my opinion didn't matter. We certainly disagreed, but I was avoiding sharing my truth and contributing to the wounding that I had as a child that said, you don't belong here. These thoughts, these beliefs don't belong here. And so I would walk on eggshells, avoid conversations and confrontation. And that was the self-abandonment piece. So that's something I cannot do again. I'd rather meet the difficult conversation head on than build resentment and ultimately be pissed off because I wasn't honoring what I really felt. Same thing with like from the health perspective, restrictive eating, more like punishing eating. Sure, you can lower calories and lose a little bit of body fat, but why are we doing that? I was fasting and always afraid of carbohydrates. Same thing with working out. The reasons I was working out was because I felt like I had to look a certain way. People were going to like me or notice me more instead of, man, this makes me feel good. It's an anchor in my day and it helps me regulate and helps me sleep better. Doing it for the wrong reasons. And another one is like drinking, feeling obligated to drink at social events or when I've got a big day the next day. Ultimately, I learned I hate hangovers. I used to be the party king, the pusher, getting everybody to drink more. And now I'm much happier. I can't think of the last time that I drank. It's usually on vacation. If I do, I'm not going to say never, but it's more like, is this a hell yes for right now? Or is this a not I want to? And giving my permission to myself in those moments where it's like, well, I want to do this. Ultimately, those are the moments that build capacity, regulation, and real peace, and help us meet our body where it's at and build safety over time through trust.
I love all of your examples. I feel like most of us can relate to those on some level. We've done this or this, or continue to do whatever it is that's keeping us from honoring our body, our experience, living more in alignment, doing the things that will create more balance and letting go of some of those other things. I appreciate those examples. My podcast is all about fulfillment, and I love hearing from guests what they've done to deepen their personal fulfillment. A story, something that you could share, maybe even in the last year, of how you created more fulfillment in your own life.
Thing that was a big turning point for me. I was in a really sensitized state. I was very anxious, not sleeping, fatigued, cycling between big activation and shutdown, freeze, fawning, as you would say. I was avoiding all the things that I loved until I was perfect, until I was good enough or better, and felt like I had the energy and the sleep and the capacity to be around people. I mean, the last 2 years, I was in a cocoon, healing and working on myself. And ultimately, I got to a point where I realized avoiding the things I loved was a big part of my sensitivity because I told myself, this is too much. This is going to hurt me. I had chronic fatigue and insomnia and gut issues. I mean, it was all the evidence was there, but these were really neuroplastic symptoms. They were symptoms created from fear. There was an original symptom, but I was so afraid of it coming back or repeating. And I was working so hard in my healing to fix and figure this out. I had to see that this sensitized state was caused from me avoiding the things that I love, constantly figuring things out and trying to fix them by adjusting and changing things every day. I had this underlying belief that I can't trust my body and I have to hold everything together with all these things that I feel like are the glue. it was actually the thing that was hurting me. So I started doing things that I loved by getting really clear on what are my values. To rattle a couple off, that'd be, freedom and health. It would be connection. It would be authenticity. So I started doing the things that I loved again. It was really scary in the beginning because everything in my body told me, don't do this. And I felt like I needed to rest all the time. It was kind of the opposite, telling myself I can't and not doing and waiting until I'm perfect. That was putting so much pressure and stress on my system. It's not like I started running marathons. I wanted to grow my business and start a podcast and help people. And so I started with like 10 minutes a day of posting, 10 minutes a day of working on my podcast or whatever that may be, working out when I'm tired, scaling things back to where it's like, what can I do now? When I'm really in that deep freeze, it's giving myself choice, right? It's not like, hey, you're going to work out and you're going to love rest because it's what you love and your value. It's more like, hey, this is a value. Health and exercise is something that we really love. What do we have capacity for today? Can we do the warm up and see how that goes? Oh, okay. That felt good. Keep going. Slow down. Done. Let's go get in the sauna. It's giving myself choice, meeting myself where I'm at, doing the things I love. What that's doing is showing up for myself, unconditional love, saying no matter how you feel, I'm going to be here. It's building capacity to be with difficult sensation. It's learning to regulate and building trust in the body. It's attachment repair as well, right? I'm meeting you no matter what. You're creating a perfect storm for healing, and the brain wants to change. When it's freaking out, if we relax into that and let the fear be here, we figure out what did the fear need. It's basically reparenting is thrown in there too. When we can do all these things, then we're going to get better. And it's a very personal journey, and we get to meet the moment all the time. And those little drops of consistency and safety and repetition, it really adds up. For someone that was basically bedbound, within a month or two, I'm doing all the things that I love again. I've learned how to rest, and I can do more because of that. A lot of the people that I work with are in that same category. They're special operators in the military, professional athletes, entrepreneurs, single moms, doing everything. When we can slow down and meet ourselves and give ourselves permission to rest, to be as we are, to understand what do I need in this moment, and the whole system relaxes. And what was once a priority and a really scary thing, if we learn that that's actually safe, the symptoms relax. The sensitization is more like a lens. And now we're at our survival. It's like, I don't have these ruminative thoughts. I don't have all these protocols and things I have to do. Like, wait, it's a whole lot easier to just be me.
I really appreciate you saying that. And it really does resonate because I eat, breathe, sleep, all the things mental health and wellness. And it's so easy to get caught up on that. For example, I love pickleball. And the people I play with play like 6-7 days a week, multiple hours a day. And I get so frustrated. I want to perform better for them so I'm a better partner. And then also for myself because I have this competitive, fun nature. And so if many of us, I hear my clients say the same thing. The things that we love very quickly become an addiction or an avoidance. They become something that's also our enemy. I think about the things you love. I'm like, yeah, I hear what you're saying. And I think it's all about just like what you said, that unconditional love, that trust, that regulation, that practice, making sure you're tuning into your body. Like, okay, is this good for me right now? Do I need to scale back? It's checking in with ourselves. If I check in more, it's probably not doing 3 hours of pickleball a day or constant weightlifting. I love all of these things, but for most of us, it can become excessive. I'm sure you'll probably have something to say to that, but I want to just reiterate some of those things. I loved how you talked about that. You avoided what you loved until you were perfect. I think that resonates with a lot of people. I think about that too. Like if you're often feeling very fatigued, I felt that myself, like just even sitting there and being still or just being lazy, that seems like a crime according to how I grew up. That was not okay in my house. That script is still going in my head. It's not okay to slow down. But trusting in your body and focusing on, like, it's okay to do what you love. So I appreciate those examples. And I could see what other people might be saying. What about if those things we love just become excessive too?
I think self-inquiry work, when we feel stuck, it's like a mismatch where the brain is saying, you got to do this. And the body's like, well, no, man, maybe we're not in touch with the body's language quite yet. You got to do it up here in the brain. And this would take some somatic body awareness type stuff as well. But it's, if I could get somebody into a more grounded state, and it's like, okay, yeah, I have this thing that I'm telling myself I have to do. And what does it feel like in my body when I believe that I have to do that? That is gold. And then you basically take that and you go, who am I without this belief that it has to be this way? And it's like you feel lighter. Now, it may take some time to be able to feel that, but that's really good information. And I think it's so important to throw in the beliefs because there's this war that happens, right? It's perceived war of top down, which is like CBT and DBT type stuff, brain retraining I'd throw in there, and then more somatic, which is bottom up, feel the body. And it's like, well, it's one or the other. You got to feel your feelings or think about your past. Both of those things are true, right? Like we can see an animal get chased by a predator, and when it's safe, it shakes it off. So the somatic people will say, oh, you just got to shake it off. Well, if I'm just shaking and my body isn't ready to do that, that's a tiny dose of self-abandonment, right? That's kind of an extreme example of that. The difference between the animal and the human is the animal doesn't have beliefs that say this isn't safe. So we have to work with that stuff too. It may be shocking to learn what my body believes. It certainly was for me. I thought I'm very clear that my body needs this. And when I ask it, how does it feel to believe this? And it recoils. And it's like, why do you feel like that? And the more that we meet the body, the more we start to get images and behaviors, memories. That's just showing that there's more safety on board, and it provides more input to recognize how we feel about things. If we've been avoiding that for a long time, it can be very eye-opening. I think it's a great compass and way to make decisions when we can listen in.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. And it almost makes me think of those people that get to the point where they're like, this fatigue is not worth it, this constant scrambling. There's almost this natural progression for a lot of people, especially in middle ages, to move towards like yoga or that inner work or healing therapy. This can't be maintained, nor do I want it to be. Just slowing down enough to allow that work to happen and practicing self-compassion, educating yourself, creating that awareness, really connecting more with the body. I love doing that with my clients too. It's a practice. Like so many of us are not even aware of the tension that we feel in our bodies until somebody asks us.
It's really cool to see when we do some orienting and we slow down and we feel our damn shoulders up to our ears for the first time. So I had a client, one of my first guys that I was working with, that we started doing some more nervous system type stuff. And he hired me to lose weight. And I was a health coach before this. Day one, he comes over. He's local. We did a workout at my house and couldn't get his shoulder above his jawline. I'm like, what's going on there? His shoulder injury or his neck injury. And I was like, how long has that been going on? He's like 5 or 6 years. I'm like, what? Now that I'm working with more chronic symptoms, I'm like, ding, 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 ding. I know what that is. But at that time, it was new, right? And so I'm like, let's get you to, did my typical approach of force and overwhelm. I'm like, not that the chiropractor is bad, but I'm like, let's go to the chiropractor. So he goes for like 6 months. Things get worse. We're having a conversation about that. He's like, I don't think I can go anymore. I'm like, tell me more about what's going on. He's like, man, when I get home at the end of the day, I want to do these walks that you're telling me to do, but I just got no energy. And I'm like, how often is that shoulder thing happening? And he didn't know if he was doing it. So feel your traps in your shoulders that are retracted up to your neck and your ears. And like, what's it feel like to let that go? Can you do that? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, so your homework this week is to just learn as much as you can about that tension. Like, when do those shoulders go up to your ears? What do you notice? Quit going to the chiropractor and let's see what happens. So I wasn't expecting a whole lot. This is a guy who, when I was like, have you ever talked to a therapist and be interested in that? He's, hell no, I'll talk to you. And so he comes back and he goes, you know what? Lots of awareness. This is a good old boy, which means he came from poverty, made a bunch of money, had all these people on a piece of him. And so he was in these meetings and he said, yeah, I'm sitting in these meetings with my people that work with me and people I'm working with. And I hate these meetings. They're super stressful and I'm just trying to get through them. And I said, okay, cool. So the next week, I want you to notice that tendency and let that tension drop as much as you can. I want you to feel your butt in your chair. We learned about orienting and how to sense our breath and sense our environment, use our senses to be here. I want you to really listen to what everybody's saying. If you need to take notes, do that. I want you to look for what's going on. I want you to see if you can notice your breath, look at the walls and the colors. I want you to be in this environment as much as you can. I didn't expect a whole lot from this, but he comes back and he's like, oh my gosh. He's removed 2 or 3 friends. He realized they just wanted his money and they weren't helping. They were like bloodsuckers. He removed a couple of business deals and people he was working with. He fired a couple of people, reorganized his business. And at the end of that week, his neck pain was improved by like 60, 70%. It was just insane. And I've seen many examples. I've got a lady, she's 68 years old, has had a chronic cough since her husband died 5 or 6 years ago. And 3 30-minute sessions of connecting with her body, she's off her inhaler, and her coughing is down by 50 or 60%. Why? Because they're paying attention to their body.
Wow. Such good stories. I'm so glad you told them. I am a sucker for stories. And it goes back to the main message of what you're saying. Just listen to your body and that we're our own medicine. And that is a great place to end it. Do you have a final thought on like a mantra or something we didn't quite get to today that you want to end with?
I'd say if this resonates and you're feeling the impulse that maybe this stuff is you and it's resonating, start now. There's so much good information out there, free information. I really love my mentor, Irene Lyon. She's got a 21-day and a 12-week program that are fantastic. Lots of free resources. I've got a podcast, Rude to Conversations, putting stuff up on my webpage, mitchwebb.com. Pick up a book, talk to a friend. Anybody that's listening to this, I'm doing free 30-minute intro calls. There's no obligation to sign in. If this resonates, hit me up. Let's talk about it. We'll see if this is a good fit for you. If we don't resonate with each other, we don't feel like it's a good fit here, I'll point you in the right direction. There's a million ways to get up the mountain when it comes to this work. It all starts with education and awareness. So start learning. Pick up a book, watch a podcast, check out Kendra's work. I've seen lots of really cool stuff here as well. That's what we're doing. We're just trying to spread the word. It's been so impactful for me with Kendra and other people that we've worked with. This feels like a magic trick for someone who's been forcing themselves for 20 years. You mean I got to surrender and listen and rest, and I'm going to be 2 or 3 times more productive when I'm not shaming myself and beating myself up for not being perfect? Like, it's a magic trick. Get a guide, get someone that can help you. Find someone that you really resonate with, that you feel like have been in their shoes before, and they can guide you through. So much of this stuff is simple. It's free. You don't have to do this huge protocol or do it all at once. Start small and meet yourself where you're at.
Very well said. So many great nuggets in there. And we will put your information in the show notes. So if anything Mitch said resonated with you, feel free to reach out to him. And the main one you said was mitchwebb.com to be.
Yeah, mitchwebb.com. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, or Rude Conversations. You can find me, reach out to me, shoot me a DM, and I'll take care of you.
I love it. And just that last little plug, get a guide. I completely agree. My life didn't really change until I was willing to invest in a guide. I don't care who you are, how wise you are. If you are Yoda, you still need a guide. We all need somebody to help us pay attention to our blind spots or recognize what's going on that maybe we're not aware of. We'll get better and better at it with that guide. So I'm glad that you spoke to that too. But thank you again, Mitch, for coming on the show today. It was very helpful and speaking to some things that we might know about to some level, but maybe not pay attention to much in our scramble and our daily chaos. So I'm glad that you came on today.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me, Kendra. It's great to chat with you.
Thanks for being part of today's episode on fulfillment therapy. If this conversation inspired you, take the next step towards your fulfillment transformation by visiting fulfillmenttherapy.org. Remember, you can also email us at hello@fulfillmenttherapy.org if you want free coaching and have that become an episode. Don't worry, it is not overwhelming. You can just get simple guidance in a free way. You can also check us out on Instagram and Facebook. All of that is in the show notes. We'll see you back here on Monday with a new episode. Hey friends, if you enjoyed this episode, a quick 30-second share can help someone else find support and help this podcast grow. Leaving a review on Apple Podcasts boosts visibility and keeps the show alive. Your simple acts make a big difference. I'll see you back here each week for more life-changing episodes.